Here we are at the start of February, looking back at January, and it's time to get into the stats because it is the new year. It's a brand new real estate month in terms of like each January that's just finished. And well, we got to keep you in the know. We've got to make sure you're educated, you understand exactly what's going on. So let's get into this little piece of paper in front of me and see what happened in Halifax for the real estate market for January 23. Hey everyone, it's Richard, and yeah, here we are again. Like, start of a new year. January 2023 has finished because we're now in February, and I have a lovely little piece of paper in front of me here with all of your answers for what's going on in the real estate market. Now, if you're here and you are getting value from the channel, if you've seen these things before, but maybe you didn't subscribe or hit the bell, well, now's your chance to do it. Make sure you leave us any comments as well, because like, we're active on making sure we get back to you with your questions, but we don't know your questions unless you answer them. So leave some comments down below and everything. Now, let's get into it because January is going to be an interesting month. A lot has changed from January 22 to January 23. And it's surprising how much has changed from December as well. So let's have a look at that. First thing, as always, average price point. Well, we're at 535 and a little bit dollars. Thousands, of course. So that's the average price for the whole of HRM. Now, list to sale price, because that's one of the other key things we look at. We're at 97.5%. So listed at, let's look at number 549, sold at 535. That gives us a 2.5% decrease to 97.5. Now, let's start getting into comparing it to last month and last year. Last year, well, we're 13% down on last year. So that must mean, given a bit of math, that we're at 110% list to sale price last year in January. Last month, we're also 2% down on that. Last month was 99.5 in December. We're at 97.5, so we're down 2% on that. So you can see there's a definite shift there. Like, the average price didn't actually change that much from last month, December, to this month, January. It sure did change from January 22 because that was 614,000. So we're down 13% when you compare January last year to January this year. So big shifts coming. More shifts to come when we get into the stats. Let's have a quick look at days on market. So 21 days on market was January 22. December was 32 days on market. So already you can see the shift that's been going on throughout the whole of 22, really from about like June onwards. We've been increasing the days on market, so houses are taking longer to sell. Well, in January 2023, we're now at 47 days on market on average for all of those houses that sold in the month of January. So we are up 26 days. We've more or less doubled and a little bit more from January last year. We've also put an extra 15 days on what we did in December as well. So it's basically taking longer now. So sellers take note of that. Like, it's no longer that like kind of 3 to 5 day. It's not even 30 days. On average, we're at 47. Now, specific in your market could be very different, so reach out and let me know and we'll tell you your specific market if we don't cover it on here. But those are some of the things that you start looking at from a seller point of view, and it's like, yeah, like, you've got to be good marketing, you've got to be a sensible price, and we'll get into a couple of markets talking about price. So you can see already. So now let's go to like one of the third measures, which is amount of inventory. 2.8 months in January, 0.7 last year, 2 at the end of December. So we are up 1.1 month on last year's number. We're up 0.8 on last month's. So again, inventory levels are coming up. Now, definitely you'll see a couple of things here in the fact that active homes for sale, so how many houses are actually for sale right now, 459. Didn't really change that much from December. And from last year, January 2022, we only had 146 homes. So we're up 214% from last January to this January in terms of the number of homes active for sale. Definitely has that increase and that bump on the amount of inventory that we're seeing now as well. But another combination of that is the houses that were sold. So we only sold 162 homes in January. Now, last year we sold 200 homes in January, so we're down like 19% on that. But in December, we sold 224, so we're down 28% on that. Now, I think some of the reason for December selling so many homes was everybody was talking about, well, we've had like 7 increases in the interest rates over 2022. January 20 something, 25th, I think, was the announcement for that interest rate hike, which fully enough did go up. So 8th straight increase since the Bank of Canada started this little trend of upping interest rates. So I think a lot of people in December said, I'm not waiting till January. I'm going to get out there and buy houses now, which is why, because 224 homes in December rather, is quite a good amount of inventory, of volume activity for the month of December. I mean, December is usually a shortish month, like it's only 2.5 weeks really. You could argue it's only 2 weeks by the time you start taking out Christmas and scaling down and going on, like finishing work earlier, taking some vacations, stuff like that. So when you look at all of those numbers, there's 3 major trends here that obviously if you're a buyer or a seller, you need to know. Number 1, list price to sale price is now at 97.5%, so 2.5% lower. Number of days on market are up to 47 and has been basically on a trend increasing throughout the whole of 2022. There was a little dip in the middle of 22, but since like July onwards has been on a trend up. And of course, when you look at the months of inventory, third trend that's going up, that's been gradually moving up since July 2022 when it was only 1.1 months. Now we're at 2.8 months. So you can see that everything is showing that our market has definitely slowed down. Interest rates are an effect on that, but also let's talk from a seller point of view, because we only listed, let me have a quick look here, an extra 257 homes were listed in January. Now we know February, March, April is more like what we would call the spring bump here in Halifax area. And that's when people start thinking, okay, if I want to move in May, June, July, I need to kind of start thinking now what I'm going to do. Well, that means then that February, March, April are going to be bigger listing months. So it's going to be very interesting to see how February, March and April turn out. Because when we look at the new listings of 257, we sold 162. That puts us at a 63% sales to new listings ratio. That's the lowest it's been in the last 12 months when I kind of measure, because I measure everything in a 12-month block. So when you put January on, you drop December for the previous year. So in all of those months, it's not been as low as 63%. So that tells you that we didn't put a lot of listings on, but we definitely sold a lot less than the new listings. So naturally, you're adding more houses onto the market. So therefore, the months of inventory is going to go up. 2.8, that's where we are right now. So let's look at some specific markets. Number 1 is St. Margaret's Bay, Upper Tantallon, Prospect, Timberley area. Average price there was $503,000, 0.6% off, so like 99.4% sale to list price, so let's call it more or less average. 28 days on market there, so not doing too bad. 19 houses sold, so not a huge amount of houses sold, but we only did 162 in the whole month, so like you're not going to see the number 1 market be that big. But 67 homes on market gives you a 3.5 months of inventory. So quite a lot of houses for sale there. Now, when we look at number 2, we had 2 places. We had Bedford and we had East Hants, which is Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. When we look at Bedford, average price there, $852,000. So fairly pricey. 93% sale to list price ratio there. So a fairly sizable reduction in price there, but we'll go into that. 14 homes sold, 37 homes active, 2.6 months of inventory. Now, of the 14 that were sold, 6 of them were brand new builds, so they were definitely in the 800 range, which I think is why that average came up. But also in that number of 14 homes sold, 4 of them were greater than $1 million. Now, here's the interesting thing. And this is like, I think this screws the sale to list price a little bit for Bedford. So like Bedford people, you can kind of relax a little bit, because of the 4 that were over $1 million that sold, all of them took a fairly hefty drop off their list price to get to their final sale price. One of them dropped $550,000 from the list price to get to the sell price. Not a very accurate list market price at all. The fact that you would even then send an offer in at that much money below is like crazy ballsy from the realtor that was actually the buyer on that side, because yeah, to go in that much under asking and get the house, like we're not usually that inaccurate. So you've definitely got, from a seller point of view, you've got to be a lot better with your list price and be realistic in when you're going to sell, because yeah, the market, looking at all these numbers, the market has absolutely changed. Now, tied at number 2 was was Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. 14 houses there, 71 actives, 5.1 months of inventory, so balanced market there. Average sale price of 506, 98.3% sale to list price ratio, and 67 days on market. Now, some of that is going to be Kiln Creek, because they've definitely started putting up new buildings for sale on there. Likely they're facsimile designs, which means the house isn't built. And what they're looking for is to, let's get the buyers in, let's make the offer, let's get the deal secured, let's get the sale recorded now, even though like you're not getting your keys until like 6 months time, something like that. So I think that may screw their days on market a little bit, but still, the stats are the stats, and 67 days on market. And then we're looking at number 4, we're in Lower Sackville. We've got an average sale price there of 410. We got 37 days on market, 13 houses sold, only 10 active, so 0.8. So Sackville still continues to be a crazy popular market with not a lot of houses. So sellers, if you've got the place and you're thinking of selling in Lower Sackville, yeah, you should probably go for it, because at the moment you're one of the lowest amounts of inventory in the whole of HRM, and people love Lower Sackville in terms of a location, so that would be a smart thing. Their sale to list price is like 99.8, so more or less the same. So when you look at all of these numbers, and then you also, like, I'll put a little bit of a caveat on this, because the numbers show one thing, but the feeling on the ground is something completely different. So in January, I was like, okay, we're starting to write offers and put offers in for buyers who are looking at the houses. We didn't get a lot of time. And that's the one thing, is like, when it's a good property in a great location, priced appropriately, you're going to get multiple offers. Like, it's still happening. We were part of 4 different, well, we actually only wrote on 3 of them. The 4th one we didn't bother writing on. But in all of those, there were multiple offers. So it was like $360,000 price point, and we were one of 8 offers. We didn't get it. There was another one where we went in first, put our offer in, and had to wait 72 hours, 3 days, to actually get a response. And by the time we got a response, the response was, yeah, there's 4 other offers. Do you want to change yours at all? Luckily, we got that one. And then the other one we didn't decide to offer, but that was 6 offers when we were looking at it. And then the third one, then it was 3 offers, and yes, we got that one. And we didn't actually have to go that crazy over asking price, but it was kind of a sensible thing. So my feeling on the ground, boots on the ground feeling, is that it's still really busy. Buyers, like, if you see properties out there, you really do have to say, well, I like the look of it. There's not really that like, I'm just going to wait a week and see what else shows up and then I'll go and see it. It's like, no, we need to go out and see it, because there's still so much competition out there. You know, like I say, when you start seeing multiple offers, it's absolutely competitive. So from a buyer point of view, it's like, don't sit on the sidelines. Figure out that you can actually afford the house, that the mortgage payment's going to be okay, because, you know, interest rates, we're probably going to have at least another one of an increase before anything starts flattening or even going down. So buyers, you've got to start looking, and you've got to start making sure you can actually afford the mortgage you're going to do, because I'm still seeing quite a few houses that were conditional come back on the market because of financing. From a seller point of view, it's like, you've got to be so good with your viewing allowance, like in terms of like making sure that you're flexible to allow viewings. You've still got to have the place looking immaculate. Like, it's still got to be so presentable and so good. And you've got to be very accurate with your listing price, because you don't want to be the one that's taking a $550,000 reduction in terms of your list price versus your sale price, like that person in Bedford. So that's all the stats. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've got any comments, drop them down below. But in the meantime, it's still a busy market. Even though the stats are showing one thing, the feeling on the ground is something else. But like, let's get into it and start the new year. And if you've got any questions, just let me know and see if we can help you with your real estate needs this year.